Good afternoon, everybody. It's Sunday afternoon. I should be in the pub, but I'm not. I'm going to be here replying to this week's discussion, which is about the subject of negligence. Thank you very much indeed for the ones who replied. For those who didn't reply to the discussion that I raised, the exercises that I put, increasingly interested in why this isn't happening. We'll let it go for now, but I'll won't let it go forever, put it that way. So last week we were talking about negligence, weren't we? So the first thing I want to say about negligence was thanks for everyone who replied. Some really interesting thoughts. And I did ask you, I was conscious of the fact that I did ask you to put yourselves out on a lim. Have you ever witnessed any negligence yourself? Have you ever been guilty of any negligence? I'm not sure. We all make mistakes. That's the point. We all make mistakes. And negligence, mistakes happen and people have found to carry the blame for events that take place. And sometimes it doesn't strike you as entirely just and all the rest of it. It's a nightmare. But I want to draw your attention to a couple of ideas, some of which came out of the discussion, some of which are my own. The first idea I want to bring to your attention is this. Negligence has a social meaning and it has a technical legal meaning. Negligence, neglect is a very serious charge to put against someone, really, if you think about it. You think if they're neglectful of their children, or it's a terrible, terrible thing to say. But in law, it means something quite separate. It means something quite technical. Was there a breach in the duty of care that's offered to a person? Did harm result? And was that harm foreseeable? Those are the key issues in negligence, and all of you who answered that focused on that pretty clearly and with good understanding. So it's got a technical meaning and it's got a social meaning. What we're talking about here is the technical meaning, yeah. And I would say it's my personal opinion, and it's the opinion of people that I've read. Incidentally, on that subject, there's a great book on law called Medicine, Patients and the Law by Margaret Brazier, who is a genius writer, a genius. Can't recommend it highly enough. Interesting and authoritative at the same time. But she draws attention in in a chapter on clinical negligence to the fact that in some instances, you talk about a breach in the duty of care causes harm to a person. In some instances, it's not entirely clear that you can draw a cause and effect relationship between what you do and what happens to the patient. For instance, there was a case not long ago reported in the press where a poor elderly woman was given, nobody denied this by the way, was given a wrong unit of blood. It was a badly matched unit of blood. And she had a stroke. And she was 80. Well, you could say that a lot of people who are 80 in hospitals get strokes anyway. It's very hard to draw a connection between her getting the bad unit of blood and her having the stroke. You couldn't say that it was the getting of that blood and no other reason gave her that stroke. Case dismissed. Negligence is not at all as easy to prove as you might think. And I would argue, I asked you this question, and some of you took the view that the cards were stacked against the practitioner. I would say it's the cards are stacked against the patient who brings a complaint. Number one, they've got to pay for everything themselves at £150 an hour, or part thereof, for the solicitor that they choose. Number two, if it goes to court, the costs go up exponentially because they're paying for everyone's time there. And number three, if it goes against you, yeah, you might end up having to pay the opposition's legal costs as well. You, on the other hand, as a practitioner, providing you've obeyed the rules and you haven't gone off and done something that you completely should not have done, yeah, providing you've gone by your employer's rules, your defence costs will be paid for. If any decision is made against you, the award will be paid for. And what you'll have to worry about is the loss of your professional reputation. Whereas the person who brings the complaint is seriously looking at the loss of their house. Now, someone said in the reply to in the discussion that the lawyers are all on this like flies, and you've got ambulance chasers and all the rest of it, and there's no win, no fee. And that's true. There is no win, no fee there. These things are commonly advertised. But what I want to invite you to think about is this: in a no win, no fee situation, you can bet your life that the solicitors who offer that are only going to go for the obvious cases who would have won anyway. You know, if there's only going to be any cases which are a bit marginal, the solicitor, I reckon, is going to say, "Don't bother, lad. Try and get over it. Live your life." You know. Okay, what is reasonable, right? Only one mentioned the Bolam standard here, and that really is a key issue. That really is a key issue in understanding the concept of negligence. But many of you drew attention to the question of what is a reasonable practitioner. You know, if what you would do is what a reasonable practitioner at your level of education and experience would also do. How do the courts define that? There won't be many judges who've been out with a group of paramedics, so they won't know what reasonable practice is these days in the ambulance service. So how do they know? Well, they will draw in on expert testimony. They'll get expert paramedics in to offer comment, but that doesn't get you much further either, because in a case of negligence, the prosecution will bring in a list of experts, and the defence will bring in a list of experts, and the list of experts will argue it out between themselves. And for a court, it's still going to be a very difficult decision to make. What is the standard of the reasonable practitioner in any given case? Experts disagree. So those are all of the points which interested, well, all of the points interested me that you made, but these are the ones which really stuck out for comment. Next week, mental capacity. I'm very interested in those of you who haven't participated in the discussion so far. These are exercises that I've left for you, and I know, don't worry, I've got a list in my inbox of who's participating and who isn't. So speak to you next week if I don't see you beforehand, and keep up the good work. This is by far the most stimulating online group that I've ever had. So well done, everyone. And if you need anything, you know where I am. Bye now.